I am really so excited to be here today to talk about all things infrastructure. Anybody that knows me knows that every chance I get to talk about these infrastructure bills, I get very excited because I recognize the transformational aspect of those bills on our economy, on our communities, on our families, and on individuals who need the work and the good work that will come, as well as the kind of movement we will do forward as it relates to our climate. I'm very fortunate to be joined by some individuals that I work very closely with and have been friends for a very long time. The mayor of the city of Trenton, the county executive of Mercer County. So that's Gusciora mayor, Brian Hughes, the county executive, the treasurer of the state of New Jersey, someone who's functioned on every level of government, Liz Muoio, and of course my 15th legislative colleagues. They're the folks that have been carrying on since Rita and I both left, and that's Verlina, Reynolds-Jackson, and Anthony Verrelli. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining us today. You know, with the recent passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, we can finally get started on important infrastructure projects that have been put off for far too long here in the capital city, here in Mercer County, and indeed in our state. The historic bipartisan infrastructure law will make life better for millions of New Jersey residents, create a generation of good paying union jobs, and spur economic growth. This legislation contains important projects to finally bring America's infrastructure into the 21st century. Things like a nationwide network of electric vehicle chargers, updating our aging rail lines, replacing fossil fuel powered transit vehicles with electric and low emission vehicle fleets, repairing our bridges, our roads, and our tunnels that date back to the Taft administration, and of course, modernizing our airports to make them safer and more efficient, all while creating millions of jobs. But it will also allow for projects to improve our surface transportation, our roads and our highways, projects like even improving and reimagining Route 29, both the tunnel and the roadway. Today, heavy trucks must exit 29 before reaching the tunnel, and they drive through residential neighborhoods. It is an issue that is unhealthy for these communities in terms of safety, in terms of emissions, and in terms of efficiency for both the trucking industry and those who are commuting and using those particular roads. And the health and safety of our neighborhoods is vitally important. And these bills and this bill will address those issues in remediating some of that negative impact on our climate and on our communities. And not only that, the design layout of Route 29, it cuts off Trenton from its beautiful waterfront and its economic development and its desirability as a place to live and to work. And it leaves potential economic prospects on the table. And now we can change that also. In this infrastructure bill, Trenton, the city of Trenton, the capital of the state of New Jersey, has access to the $1 billion Reconnecting Communities pilot program of dedicated funding to state and local governments for planning, design, demolition, and reconstruction of street grids, parks, or other infrastructure. Or the expanded grant program RAISE, Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. Equity being a very important word here for local and regional projects of significance. Projects like re-envisioning our Route 29 are no small undertaking and will require all hands on deck, which is representative of the coalition of speakers today for both state, county, and municipal government. That is also why I'm calling on the governor to make sure that the diversity of New Jersey is represented in both the contracting of work to be done through these infrastructure projects, and the employees who will find themselves in good paying union jobs. Investing in Trenton, its communities, and its people is investing in a historically underserved community. And it is our responsibility to recognize it as the capital city and to promote it as a viable, desirable place to work, to educate their children, and to live. I would like to take this opportunity now to turn it over to a longtime friend of mine, someone who has served, as I said, on every level of government and knows the importance of these critical grant opportunities. She is now the treasurer of the state of New Jersey, but she once served as a member of the Board of Commissioners, then known as freeholders, and also as the director of Mercer County's Office of Economic Development and Sustainability. I'd like to turn it over to you right now, Treasurer Muoio.
Thank you, Congresswoman. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act is a great illustration of what can be accomplished when elected officials work towards a common goal. There is no disputing that this is a once-in-a-generation investment. The clean water, improved transportation, better connectivity, and good jobs, as the Congresswoman mentioned, that will be born out of this law will have a ripple effect that will be felt for years to come throughout the country, throughout New Jersey, and particularly in places like Trenton that are long overdue and well deserving of renewed federal investments. In fact, one of the last federal transportation investments we saw of this magnitude, the Eisenhower Highway Act, created a whole new series of challenges for communities like Trenton that the Congresswoman was just talking about. Because of my years working in and on behalf of our capital city, when I became state treasurer, I had a very unique appreciation and understanding of the challenges that Trenton faces. So shortly after the Murphy administration took office, we began conversations to underscore the role the state should play in Trenton's revitalization. And with the governor's backing, full backing, the state capital partnership was born. And the partnership is designed to harness the support of key state agencies in collaboration with the city of Trenton and Mercer County to spur economic development and help chart a new course for New Jersey's capital city. And the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is just the financial shot in the arm needed to help fuel this initiative. We have the operational support now in place to make sure that these critical federal dollars are targeted wisely and where they're needed most, to overcome some of the hurdles that have held urban communities back for decades, to create good paying jobs, to bring environmental justice to well-deserved communities, and to bridge the divide, literally and figuratively, that has bifurcated many urban communities for decades. In fact, the Capital City Partnership is already collaborating to align resources to implement Trenton's vision for the Capitol Park and access to the waterfront. Many have fond memories of the old wharf park along the river that was forced to close down in 2003 because of structural failings. And in the mid-2000s, the state, the Army Corps of Engineers, Mercer County, and the city attempted to jumpstart rehabilitation of the wharf park, but given the regulatory complexities and expense, the project never got off the ground. And now, through this Capital City Partnership, we've brought the partners back together to create a new framework for collaboration, specifically for projects as consequential and complex as this one. The State Department of Transportation is constructing a flood wall along the border of the park and the Delaware River that will protect a portion of Route 29 from flooding and also provide stable land where a flood resilient park can be built. And just last week, the Mercer County Park Commission unveiled the design of the park amenities at the Trenton Planning Board meeting to ensure that it reflects the input of the community. Because we know how important historically the Old Wharf Park and the river in general are to the residents of Trenton. It's a space that has brought people together for more than a century. And our hope is that it will again, one day soon, in new and exciting ways, bring people together again. And thanks to the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, we have the opportunity for the first time in a generation to reconnect communities, to repair and rebuild our roads and bridges, and to focus on climate change mitigation, resiliency, equity, and safety for all users. I want to thank Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman, who has been a great fighter for this city and this region, because without her support, none of this would have been possible. She is a true champion of Trenton, as are my other colleagues on here today. And the Murphy administration is looking forward to working with all of you in the months and years ahead as these investments begin to roll out. Thank you again, Congresswoman, for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you, Treasurer. We're so pleased and so fortunate to have you in this position. And we're really very fortunate to be under a Murphy administration in the state of New Jersey and under a Biden administration in this country, because they get it. I'd now like to turn it over to my friend, Brian Hughes. Brian and I talk a lot about our aspirations for various projects in Mercer County, some of which are directly in the city of Trenton, some of which are even in my hometown, Ewing, but affect regional opportunities, economic development, more user-friendly from parks to the airport. I'd like to just kind of share with you some of the county's priorities that could be responded to in some of the investment in the Infrastructure Act. I mean, there's a priority that the county has for investment in clean water. And there is $168 million investment for New Jersey to that end. And there's $104 million for our country's electric vehicle, a project I know that is at the heart and of our economic development, and that Brian takes very seriously. And I'm sure he's excited about the new discretionary grant program for the airport terminal. I know members of his staff is in the Federal Aviation Administration terminal program. Additionally, I'm pleased to announce that the FAA has released its projected FY 2022 allocations for airport infrastructure grants under the recently enacted bipartisan infrastructure law. And our Trenton Mercer Airport will be eligible for up to $3 million under that program, a needed investment to an ever increasing economic driver in our county. And we see wonderful people trying to vacation, coming to our airport, not just from Mercer County, not just from the state of New Jersey, but even from our sister state, Pennsylvania. And so, Brian, I'd like to turn it over to you so that you can express what this infrastructure bill means to our county.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. It's nice to see you, and it's nice to be here on the call. It was great to see our treasurer, Liz Muoio, who we ran together as freeholders not a long time ago, but a while ago. And she is certainly, like you, a fighter for Mercer County and the state of New Jersey. You are correct. And we are fighting every day to make sure our airport and our reinvention of what the airport can be here in Mercer County to be a more regional asset. We are working on that every day, and we are proud that you were able to fight and get into this infrastructure bill money for airport dollars. So we'll be able to use not only the regular dollars the FAA has, but particularly new dollars and new funding for airports that need it the most. And I think Mercer would apply to that. Beyond that, we have three major access points on the Northeast corridor of the Amtrak line, in Trenton and in Hamilton and in Princeton Junction. People come every day expecting Amtrak and New Jersey Transit to have trains that run on time, that have good operations, and that are working at the best of their capacity. Unfortunately, in the past few years, they haven't been. With this new infrastructure money especially the money that's going towards Amtrak and the new tunnel under the river in New York, we'll be able to ensure that this generation and future generations will have access to public transportation that they so desperately need. I want to thank you as well. Mercer County has 5 bridges that transport people from Pennsylvania directly into Mercer County. 3 of those transport people from Pennsylvania to the city of Trenton. They need upkeep, they need upgradings, and they will get that under the infrastructure bill that has just been passed. So beyond the local bridges and tunnels and the Lincoln Road Bridge, which is an expensive project that we're involved with here in the city of Trenton, beyond all those things, we are realizing some of the infrastructure needs that wouldn't have been possible without your support, without the President Biden's support, and without the entire Congress, because this was a joint effort that made its way through a very difficult process. And I want to applaud you and everyone involved for getting it done for the city of Trenton and for Mercer County. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, County Executive. We see you're ready, willing, and able to spend a good chunk of this money in Mercer.
We're ready. Just send it to my home and we'll spend it.
Thank you.
All right.
Since we're in his backyard, and since we talk about the capital city as a city that is our collective responsibility, it is not just a municipality that stands alone. It's one that represents what New Jersey is. And with its historic sites and its various infrastructure needs, I mean, we need to be very generous to our capital city. And I know that this is something that Reed and I talked about way back when we were sitting in the State House, in the Assembly chambers, thinking about our access to the beautiful waterfront and what had happened to cut it off. And so I know, Mayor, that one of the things that you're really, really committed to is reimagining what Route 29 can be and how it can facilitate our citizens having greater access to the waterfront and the economic benefits of it. So I'd like to turn it over to you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. I hope you enjoy your holiday season. And it's interesting that this is very much a Christmas gift to Trenton. As you know, 240 years ago, on a snowy Christmas Eve, was the birth of our nation. So this is very important to us. And I know that you and your staff have been working with us along with the state and the county to get things done in the capital city. We are excited about the implementation of reconnecting neighborhoods that's in the infrastructure bill. We believe that Route 29 was unimaginable back in the 50s and the 60s, where they took out neighborhoods and took out our economic engine, which is the waterfront. We would love to recapture that waterfront by reimagining Route 29 into a boulevard, which would really benefit in jobs, economic development, and really back to an outreach to the shores of the Delaware, where George Washington crossed. But we're also, yesterday we had a meeting about bike safety and pedestrian safety, and we're excited about the provisions in the infrastructure bill that allow communities once again to create safe neighborhoods and safe streets. We have many federal, state, and county buildings in the capital city and connecting roads. There's a lot of pedestrian and safety issues. And so we're excited about the potential of getting federal funding to jumpstart safer streets and safer roads. So we want to thank you very much for this Christmas gift and working really hard on our behalf. And I think we have a real good group among our state legislators, our treasurer, our county executive, to really get things done. So thanks so much for opening the doors for all of us, and enjoy your Christmas season.
Thank you, Mayor. Same to you. I know that you just touched upon a few of the priorities that you have for the city of Trenton, but we recognize that these infrastructure bills will also provide housing. And so we can look to even reimagine what does that mean. And so it is an exciting time. I'm certainly excited about it. And I know that once we figure out when it's coming, you'll be able to figure out where it needs to go, you and Brian and of course, Liz. And so I'd like to turn it over for some comments from my friends who are holding it down in the State House for us in the 15th Legislative District. Assemblywoman, I was getting ready to call you Congresswoman. Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds-Jackson, I know you're interested in a myriad of opportunities and benefits of these bills. But I'm wondering if you would also talk about the importance of making sure that this FDR moment that we could possibly have here leaves no one out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here with you all today for this monumentous occasion. You know, we have great partners, from our great partner, Governor Murphy, to our state treasurer, to our county executive, and our awesome mayor. We all really do work together. The problems that we've talked about have been going on for such a long time. The issue has become about funding. We have the great Executive 40 that the governor created, and I've been working with Treasurer Muoio and the staff over there, with our delegation as well. So I think when we start to talk about the Infrastructure Investment Act, Investment and Jobs Act, it really does drill down on logistically, how do we get these things done? And so once we start to talk about these millions of dollars that come in, I can't help but to think of my friend John Harmon over at the African American Chamber, who says, don't let the train leave the station without figuring out how we make sure that we have our small businesses, our women-owned, our minority businesses, our veterans, and our LGBTQ communities included in this. And this infrastructure package does that. It talks about our climate change. We're talking about our lead pipes that need to be addressed in all of our communities. We're talking about how do we fund these programs without putting the burden on taxpayers' backs. So when you talk about how this is going to impact us, this is the career opportunities that we want. I've seen signs on some of the trade trucks that said, if you don't want the college debt, talk to me about trades. The trades are another great avenue to great careers. Those are the people that build our bridges, our highways, our infrastructure, our new housing, Mayor, that you brought up, that we desperately need. We know these problems exist. It's just, how do we now logistically make sure that we get it done? So I thank you, Congresswoman, for bringing this to us. I thank the governor, the treasurer, Muoio. Your staff has just been amazing. We have some projects already done in our heads. Now we just need to put the line item with the budget. So thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. President Biden has said that he wants to ensure that a good chunk of this percentage of all the expenditures under the infrastructure programs is utilized in the underserved communities. Secretary Buttigieg has admitted in our meetings with the Appropriations Committee, recognizing what happened with the whole plan to put highways through minority communities and what that's meant and how we need to correct that. Marsha Fudge is Housing and Urban Development Secretary. She knows about what it means to provide decent housing and good housing and reliable housing. And so we've got so many partners now in Washington that get it from that perspective of equity. And then I've had a recent conversation, excuse me, with Governor Murphy. He's 1,050% on board with ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of this. And I keep referring to this as our FDR moment that will leave no one out this time. And I agree with you about the jobs and the trades and how important they are in ensuring that our communities have good jobs, good careers, and good futures. And I know Assemblyman Anthony Verrelli has a very important stake in that issue and is a member of a subcommittee or a task force on infrastructure in our state. And so I'd like to punch it over to you, Assemblyman, for some comments with regarding the benefits of this infrastructure plan.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Good morning, everyone. I have to start out by making an accolade to our fantastic, dynamic Congresswoman Bonnie WatsonColeman for helping get this Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act bill across the finish line and signed into law. I want to thank you for all the great work you've done in the 15th district. As long as I've known you, you've been an advocate. You've been pushing things that were not always popular, but at the end of the day, you always got the right result. I want to recognize our treasurer, Liz Muoio, County Executive Hughes, and the great mayor of the capital city, Gusciora, and my counterpart, Assemblywoman Reynolds-Jackson, and the matriarch of the 15th, who was unable to be here today, Senator Shirley Turner. I want to highlight a few things that don't always get talked about when it comes to infrastructure. And Congresswoman, you mentioned it. I've been focusing on water infrastructure the last couple of years. I am on the Assembly Natural Resource Committee Infrastructure and Planning, and we're doing work to make sure that we have good infrastructure in place. And this bill is fantastic for that. We need to replace all our lead line services and make other investments to keep our water systems running well. We need clean water. We need water on call when we hit the tap, and we got to feel safe drinking it. New Jersey is going to benefit immensely from the federal dollars that are now going to be dedicated to water infrastructure. The new infrastructure bill is also going to help bring new opportunity to our citizens, people that live in the state, in these communities. People in New Jersey will soon gain access to more widespread and reliable high-speed internet. That is critical. New transportation options by road and rail, electric vehicle charging stations, which is the direction that we seem to be going in, which is good for climate change and the environment, and new infrastructure jobs, most importantly. Investments in climate change mitigation and environmental justice will help prepare us for the future. A big piece of this is going to be roads, bridges, and tunnels, and rails. New projects here will create good paying jobs, union jobs, building a transportation network fit for the 21st century. It will serve to improve supply chains, reduce travel time, and improve safety for drivers and pedestrians alike. Trenton Mercer Airport, New Jersey Transit, and Amtrak's Northeast Corridor will all be eligible for grant funding too. We have to make sure that we leave no one behind here. The projects that are being done, we have to go into the communities where they're being done and bring the residents in to do the work, whether they be businesses, small businesses, minority businesses, women businesses, veterans, businesses in the LGBTQ community. We need to get it done. We need to include everybody. This is where the rubber hits the road. Everything else is in place. The money's here. We just got to make sure everybody gets to participate. And that's the critical thing. I've been a union member for 33 years. And I've seen changes in the past 33 years that are for the positive. And if we can't reach out and find the people in the communities, we have to reach out to the unions to bring people in the communities, into the unions, to be able to do the work. Because if you live in a community where projects are being done, that should be reflected in the workforce and in the contractor base. So there's opportunity for everybody here to make this very successful. And we have all the players are in place on this call, all dynamic, all hardworking, people who don't take no for an answer. And it's all led by you, Congresswoman. So I want to thank you again for your work on getting this important and historic bill through Congress. And these new infrastructure projects are really going to push us toward a more livable, sustainable, and healthier future. And I want to thank all my partners here, and I want to wish everybody a happy holiday on behalf of me and my family. And I'm Happy holidays. Stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Listen, I need to thank each and every one of you because you have brought in an important part of the discussion. We've thought this opportunity through, so we are absolutely ready from the state to the county to the municipalities. And it is vitally important that we recognize that this is an opportunity of a lifetime. This Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, it represents a historic investment in our towns and our cities. And it does have the power to restore our neighborhoods and invigorate our economics and communities that have often left behind. It's an all government effort from the president to the hardworking citizens of the state of New Jersey. Let me just say, but there is another piece to this that is equally important. And I believe, the kind of optimistic but realistic person I am, that we will have the benefit of the Build Back Better agenda as well. And why is that important? Because it works hand in hand with the infrastructure investment in jobs. First of all, it reduces the cost to families. We want to lift up our families and make life easier for them. It reduces the cost of prescription drugs, of elder care and child care. Those things have been very expensive. They continue to be very expensive. Build Back Better addresses those issues. We talked about charging stations, very vitally important. In Build Back Better, there are provisions to not only support the fact that there's going to be these charging stations, but to actually acquire these electric vehicles. There is an acknowledgement that we must reduce pollution. We must provide, produce, and ensure that there is climate resiliency and that energy costs and energy provisions are done in a way that is safer for our communities, particularly those formerly redline communities. So it's from a SHADE Act, which would ensure that there are more trees to cool down those communities, to ensuring that there's a better form of energy that is used that has less impact, negative impact on our communities. So we know that together, the Build Back Better and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act are transformative. They are our New Deal moment. And collectively, they will help our families, help our communities, help our state, bring competitiveness back to our country, make sure that we are investing and manufacturing here in the United States of America. It's a brilliant agenda. I thank President Biden for his vision on this agenda. We've worked very hard in Congress. We're working very hard right now in the Senate to get this Build Back Better bill passed. And I am certain that we will be celebrating and talking about the impact of these collective bills in the very near future.